Well, good afternoon. Press statement on piracy and maritime armed robbery in the Gulf of Guinea. The members of the Security Council were briefed by Mr. Lynn Pascoe, Under-Secretary General for Political Affairs, on the issue of piracy and maritime armed robbery in the Gulf of Guinea off the coast of West Africa on 23rd August. The members of the Security Council expressed concern over the increase in piracy, maritime armed robbery and reports of hostage-taking in the Gulf of Guinea and its damaging impact on security, trade and economic activities in the sub-region. The members of the Security Council noted the efforts being made by countries in the Gulf of Guinea to tackle the problem, including the launching of joint efforts to patrol these waters, including efforts by Nigeria and the Republic of Benin, off the coast of Benin, as well as plans to convene a summit of Gulf of Guinea heads of state to discuss a regional response. In this context, members of the Council underlined the need for regional coordination and leadership in developing a comprehensive strategy to address this threat. Recognizing the leadership role of the regional bodies and states on this issue, the members of the Security Council called on the international community to support the concerned countries, ECOWAS, ECAS, and other relevant organizations as appropriate in securing international navigation along the Gulf of Guinea, including through information exchange, improved coordination, and capacity building. The members of the Security Council noted the intention of the Secretary General to deploy a United Nations assessment mission to examine the situation and explore options for UN support. The members of the Security Council also stressed the need for UNOWA and UNOCA to work within their current mandates with UNODC and IMO, as well as with all concerned countries and regional organizations. Thank you.
Possible?
Please ask me any questions you
Very
like,
good.
which I will respond to as the representative of India.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Earlier today, in a press conference by NATO said that it's entirely up to it to decide when its mission ends, based on its assessment of the threat to global security that Gaddafi presents. That's also in this Ian Martin report. It says NATO will have a continuing role. As India, when do you believe does NATO automatically have an ongoing role?
You know, this will require a longer discussion. I'm clearly not going to get involved in a discussion on how NATO, when NATO should complete its mission. Clearly, we believe that the Security Council's action was under resolutions 1970 and 1973. There was a limited scope there for enforcement of a no-fly zone. Everything else that has happened subsequently in terms of expansion of the mandate, etc., you know my views on that. So I'm not going to comment. And NATO, these are questions you should address to NATO and the spokesman of NATO. Yes.
In the U.S. Congress, somebody proposed to move the contributions to the U.S. contribution to the UN to a voluntary basis. Would India favor such?
No. I mean, you are talking about draft legislation before the legislature of a particular country. You should address the question to those. I mean, how can I respond to a hypothetical situation? Just now, the scale of assessments is done according to a formula here, to which we respond and pay our assessments. Yes.
What is the status of the draft resolutions on Syria?
Well, I think since it's already in the public domain, there was a resolution which was submitted by the United Kingdom, Germany, Portugal, France, and I think the United States, which has been around for a little time. Then subsequently, Russia proposed a resolution which has also been on the table, I think, for a few days. The essential difference between those two resolutions is that one tries to build on the PRST of 3rd August and wants to send a political message to Damascus to abjure violence without including the kind of coercive and punitive measures which are in the other resolution.
Mr. Ambassador, on behalf of India, which Which are you leaning toward, if any?
Well, both resolutions are on the table, and rather than give you my negotiating process position through the press, I think an attempt is being made to see how the entire council can be on the same page, and those attempts should continue.
Mr. Ambassador.
Both were put in blue very close to one another. I think the final determination as to which sequentially came first, which subsequently, that's still a decision to be taken.
Mr. Ambassador, what do you see as the UN role post-conflict in Libya from in your national capacity?
I mean, I think the United Nations has a role in terms of post-conflict, in terms of rehabilitation, reconstruction, etc. But there are some fundamental questions which need to be addressed. Is that role going to be performed by the United Nations, or are some countries going to perform that role through their own autonomously convened processes? And I think this United Nations role will be determined in terms of consultations which the Secretary General would have had with Mr. Al-Khatib, his special envoy, with Mr. Ian Martin, who've had discussions with the TNC, and through a meeting of regional organizations, which I believe was held on Friday through teleconference. But why speculate on that? The Secretary General is going to inform us in a short while as to what exactly the UN has in mind, and when the UN wants to bring specific proposals for authorization by the Security Council. We'll find out.
Mr. Ambassador, in terms of what this Gulf of Guinea assessment mission will be trying to do, it seems to me piracy isn't a military problem, it's a naval problem. And the naval forces in terms of DPKO are quite limited. And my God, quote, Gulf of Guinea, end quote, which doesn't have political boundaries, could at least potentially include at least everything from, say, Liberia down to the DRC and the Congo Delta. What do you think this assessment mission is charged with, and what can they try to do or try to assess?
No, I think you've answered your own question. I think the assessment mission has to make a determination as to precisely what the scope of the problem is, and what existing UN assets on the ground, some of the missions can do, and what more needs to be done. I don't want to get into an exercise of trying to anticipate what the assessment mission is going to find. Thank you. Thank you. Well, good afternoon.